Do you struggle with budgeting? Does every month throw a surprise expense that throws off your budget? Does this make you just want to give up on budgeting altogether? Well, stick around. We'll talk about some methods I use to create a more robust budget. So I know big issue I always ran into budgeting was there'd always be some expense that doesn't happen every month that would just destroy my budget. And it was every single month, and it was very frustrating, and it made me want to give up on budgeting altogether, which is not the right call to make. You need to have a budget. You need to know that you're spending less than you make. That's the only way that you're going to grow wealth and become financially independent. One of the big ways I do that is using sinking funds. So really, a lot of your expenses, even though they may seem unpredictable, there is a rhythm to them. If you go back and look at everything you've spent money on and every random expense that comes up, you can kind of gauge what various buckets are going to cost you over the course of a year. Now that's really important for setting up a sinking fund. So I've actually created a budget sheet that I use that I go through and I track and I come up with a monthly expense for various non-consistent expenses. So what I did is I set up a high yield savings account with Ally. And I use Ally's savings buckets to set aside a certain amount to cover all these random unknown expenses. Well, not unknown, unpredictable or inconsistent expenses, I should say. Then I set up weekly transfers to this high yield savings account with various buckets. So I have a bucket for gifts because, I know towards the end of the year, my kids' birthdays are towards the end of the year, my wife's birthday's towards the end of the year, right next to Christmas. And so I know at the end of the year, I'm going to be spending money on gifts and it's going to add up. Another one I have is for vacations. I know we're going to take vacations and they're going to be expensive. And that's not I know that expense is going to happen at some point in the year. It's going to vary from year to year when we spend that money. Another one is just random bill payments. So for that, I got car insurance, HOA fees, gym memberships that happen once a year, quarterly pest control bills. Everything that's not going to happen every month, but happens on some other interval. That's what helps me balance my budget from month to month. So when those like more inconsistent bills happen, I've got a bucket of savings specifically for that bill. I use a spreadsheet where I select a savings bucket for every expense, and it tells me how much I need to save every week to make sure that that bucket is sufficiently funded for all these inconsistent recurring expenses. Another bucket I use is more geared towards the unpredictable, so like the inconsistent billing cycles can cause chaos to my budget every couple of months. But the bucket I use, it's more for kind of unplanned failures in the house, like a refrigerator going out, dishwasher going out, stuff like that. I have a home improvement bucket, and we use that to cover like power goes out and takes out a TV, or if the dishwasher breaks down or the refrigerator breaks down. We also use it for furniture and kind of doing any sort of like random household expense. I try to keep some cash in there to cover kind of an unplanned mechanical failure in the house. So like if the HVAC goes out, stuff like that. I try to keep that separate from the emergency fund. The emergency fund is more for like job loss and unplanned medical expenses. However, if our HVAC was out and there was nothing in our home improvement bucket, I would definitely use the emergency fund to get the HVAC working, right? We live in the Southeast, it gets hot and humid. We need to have air conditioning. Another bucket that I like to use is a new vehicle purchase. So our cars have been paid off for the last 5 years. We drive we have a 2016 and 2018 vehicle. They're both getting up to about 100,000 miles on them. But I know I will need to replace those vehicles, right? So every month we're setting aside roughly $300 to eventually be able to replace our vehicles and pay cash for that when we do. One of the things I really like about Ally, which is the high yield savings account we use, is the interest pays, it's about 3.25% interest right now. All those buckets that I have, the interest, you can select which bucket you want the interest to go into. So right now, because interest rates can go up and down and the account balances can go up and down depending on what we're spending money on, I just have that interest going into our vacation bucket because it's kind of like a little bonus that we get to use to go on nicer vacations. That's something my wife and I both really enjoy. So by creating predictable money transfers into these various savings buckets, that's what really allows me to be able to save and invest the most I can every month, right? So I set up automatic transfers into our taxable brokerage account. If there's an unexpected expense or a unpredictable or inconsistent expense that hit in a month, it might run my checking account too low and cause the transfer for investments to overdraft my checking account. And we don't want that, right? That'd be bad. That'd add more fees. So what I use by using these buckets, I'm able to have money set aside for certain expenses that happen in a inconsistent manner. And so, say in June, I have a $1,200 car insurance bill that hits my credit card. I go ahead and transfer that money out of my random bills savings bucket and go ahead and transfer that into my checking account so that my regular weekly contributions to a taxable brokerage account don't overdraft my checking. I've found that's been an incredible wealth building tool for me. So having cash set aside for all these expenses allows me to fully maximize my budget for saving and investing, which has really accelerated my net worth over the last 2 or 3 years when I implemented this strategy. So I'll link below my budget spreadsheet that I use. Please check it out and leave in the comments what you think. I hope that will help you also set up a better budget for yourself so you can start growing your net worth and becoming more financially independent. Please like and subscribe, comment if you have any questions or any content that you would like to hear more about. Thank you very much.